the pain like.
Hey guys, dearyoongi here, and welcome back to my channel. If you are present on K-pop Twitter, then you may have recently seen a video circulating in which ex-Day6 member Jay was interviewed for the Zach Sang show. And this interview has been sparking some debates across social media. So in today's video, we are going to be looking at Jay's controversial history and answering some of the questions that listeners seem to be curious about. Why does Jay keep getting embroiled with controversy? Why does Jay still speak about Day6 even today, and why he is yet to move on from this time in his life? So before we look into some of Jay's issues, let's first introduce exactly who we're talking about for those who aren't aware. Park Jae-hyung is a former member of the JYP Entertainment K-rock band Day6, where he was a vocalist and guitarist. He now goes by eaJ for his solo work since. I hope I said that right. I will be calling him Jay throughout this video, just because that's the name most of us know him by, and we're talking about his time with Day6. I hope that's okay and makes sense. Some K-pop fans may also recognize Jay for his role as MC of Arirang's After School Club, where he hosted alongside soloist Jimin, now known as Jamie, and Kevin of the group U-Kiss. During his time as a Day6 member and After School Club host, it seemed that Jay managed to grow quite a fan base due to his fun personality and relatability. He's had multiple YouTube channels over the years where he's posted either covers in his pre-Day6 days or behind the scenes content with the members and his other friends during his time with Day6. And again, all of this helped him grow his audience, as that accessibility gave potential fans lots of content to follow. In 2020 was when things began to change. Jay rebranded himself to eaJ, aka Jay written backwards, and started working on a solo project on SoundCloud and YouTube for his music, but also privating all of his earlier YouTube content that fans love. In February of the same year, Jay began his first podcast titled How Did I Get Here with Dive Studios, again something that gained quite an audience. This podcast even won awards with the People's Choice and Entertainment categories at the Podcast Awards in 2020, and Best Podcast 2020 for Apple Podcast. But this podcast only ran until June 2021. In May 2020, JYP Entertainment announced that Day6 would be going on hold as a group to focus on the members' mental health. Jay himself revealed in an interview with Allure that he was diagnosed with a panic disorder in April of 2020. The same year was also when Jay began to stream on the platform Twitch, playing games and communicating with fans. And if you're familiar with his story, this was when more of his controversial statements were starting to come out. Don't worry, we'll get to those. Throughout 2020 and 2021, despite the pandemic, Jay did continue to work regularly, streaming, releasing music, collaborating with other artists, etc. However, on December 31st, 2021, Jay announced on Twitter that he'd be taking a hiatus from promoting with Day6. The very same day, JYP Entertainment announced that it isn't just a hiatus, but Jay in fact would be leaving Day6 and terminating his contract with the company for personal reasons. But during his time with the group, Jay was never short of controversy, and it almost felt like whenever we saw his name trending on social media, it was because of something he'd done that was controversial, rather than him releasing new solo music, which he has been doing a lot. So let's look at some of Jay's comments that seem to always be getting him into hot water. The sugar daddy incident. That is a term I never thought I would have to use on this channel, but here we are. In March 2021, and during a Twitch stream where Jay was playing a game, no, I have no idea which, sorry, I'm not built like that, Jay can be heard saying, "This guy, he's my sugar daddy," referring to, I'm guessing, a character within the game. Jay then said, "Just look away," and mimics motions, shall we say, of something a bit not safe for work. And you hear his friends laughing in the background like it's the funniest thing ever. Netizens were really not happy with this and deemed it inappropriate. Jay did kind of apologise in a roundabout way on a future live by saying it was cultural difference and he will refrain from commenting on it, but also that when he's spoken in English in the past, the direct Korean translations have been made problematic numerous times. So if you choose to mistranslate what he's saying to create problems, then just stop watching, that sort of thing. This was honestly quite a backhanded candid apology, if that makes sense, saying, okay, sorry if that offended you, but then completely changing the topic to critique fans who mistranslate things, which yes, of course, is definitely an important issue that should be addressed, but not in the same breath as this problem, because there was really nothing to mistranslate here. You said what you said and it's literally clearly visible to see on the screen. Defending JYP. Jay has also hit headlines quite a few times for his defense of JY Park, aka Park Jin-young, something he did multiple times, again during Twitch live streams. In one stream, Jay was listening to music, some of which included songs by the founder of JYP Entertainment, JY Park. He then spoke about how fans shouldn't blame JYP, aka the singer himself, if their faves are being unfairly treated. He said, if you guys are going to blame someone, blame the company, not JY, okay? Or whatever division they're under. This does make sense why he would say this, because Jay himself has been openly critical of the label in the past, and the fact that they didn't seem to promote his solo work or projects as much as they might have done for other members or groups under the label, despite him doing so much work to promote Day6. Jay then also said that JYP himself has his respect and defined fans as stupid if they think JYP sucks. This caused a lot of fans to react angrily because his relationship with JYP does not necessarily reflect that of everybody else, and idols who have had their own personal struggles with JYP may feel differently. Just because he himself had a good relationship with JY Park, that doesn't necessarily mean that fans aren't allowed to have their criticisms, not just of the way he might have behaved with other artists, but also of him as an artist himself. Jay's comments kind of made it feel as though he was saying his thoughts on JYP is what's correct and nobody is allowed to think otherwise. The Stray Kids incident. As many of us are aware, there is a great issue with fans asking where other artists are within an idol's live stream, and this happened many times to Jay. During one of his Twitch live streams, fans were repeatedly asking him where Stray Kids were. In response to this, Jay said, how the hell would I know where Stray Kids are? Does this look like the JYP building to you? No, please tell me. Does this look like JYP's practice room to you? And then kind of went on like that in that sort of way. Fans were not happy with this response and critiqued Jay for coming across quite condescending and sarcastic. Jay was already known amongst fans for being quite sarcastic anyway, but people thought this response came off quite rude. This one is difficult because I'm in two minds about it myself. In one sense, I completely understand his frustrations, because fans simply should never be asking for another artist during a live stream. It is really rude and disrespectful. But at the same time, I feel as though it might have been more beneficial for him to just say something along the lines of, no, I'm sorry, I don't know where they are, but please don't ask me things like that again, guys. Simple, done. I know it may be harder to think logically during the initial anger at the time, but it would have avoided a lot of issues in the long run. I think also through trying to address this situation on social media, Jay only ended up in more bother with accusations of ableism. When fans were defending Jay for his sarcasm, Jay quoted one of these tweets saying, it's a shame so many people don't speak that language yet, meaning the language of sarcasm. An unhappy fan responded to this comment with, I'm neurodivergent, Jay, which basically refers to somebody who may differ in mental or neurological functions in a way that isn't considered typical or normal. So this phrase is used to refer to people with disorders such as autism and ADHD, etc. Jay then quoted this person's tweet saying, same, ADHD and social anxiety, Fans weren't really happy with the way that Jay responded to this. Again, it kind of felt sarcastic to them in a way. It made some fans feel as though Jay was dismissing this person and other neurodivergent fans' feelings in defense of himself, and being so adamant that his earlier sarcastic comments were fine, rather than just accepting that you could have offended some people and it didn't come across the way you wanted it to. Again, when the time came for Jay to apologize for this issue, in a similar style to the Sugar Daddy incident, Jay's apology felt very much like trying to divert to another issue, rather than simply accepting responsibility for this problem at hand. Jay tweeted saying, after being on this platform, I've come to realize that some latch onto cancel trains without even getting the full story or for their entertainment. Apologies to anyone who actually took offense. No harm intended. For trains, unfollow please. You're not welcome here. Have a good day. This apology felt extremely insincere. Rather than just saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody, he instead chose the apologies if that offended you, I guess, route, then accusing people of just bandwagon hating on him all the time, criticizing the K-pop industry and idols in general. I think following these incidents, Jay's criticism of the K-pop industry and idol culture only seemed to come to the forefront much more. When speaking of his friendship with the CEO of 88 Rising, Sean Miyashiro, Jay mentioned how Sean once told him he really liked Day6's vibe and that they seemed really authentic to him. But Jay followed this up by saying, which we're not, openly calling the band he was still a member of at the time fake, basically, or like imposters in the K-rock genre. I'm not really sure how he meant that, but that's how it came across. Day6 had built up a big fan base over the years, many of these being fans of the group, but also Jay himself. So to hear him saying the very group he claims to love, as well as the industry he's in, is fake, did offend a lot of people. Because while we are all very aware of the issues within the K-pop industry, for an idol to make these sorts of comments about their own group, of all things, was upsetting to fans. And last but not least, because I think you guys get the picture by now, this is probably the issue that most people are familiar with, and that's Jay's comments about Jamie. Earlier in this video, we mentioned how Jay worked alongside soloist Jimin Park, who now goes by Jamie Park, as hosts of After School Club. They were also label mates at JYP Entertainment and were quite good friends over the years. Literally within 2 weeks of his departure from Day6, during a stream, Jay said, "Now that I'm no longer in K-pop anymore, I can say this. Why is Jamie trying to be a thought?" And he laughed, again like it was the funniest thing in the world. For those who don't know, thought is basically a misogynistic and very derogatory word used towards women to describe a woman who is a bit more promiscuous, perhaps, if that's the right word, and comes across that way. He seemed proud of himself when he said this and was like, tell her I said it, I don't care. Trying to justify his reasonings for saying this. He was laughing and saying, "You're posting these kinds of pictures with these kinds of poses. That makes me believe that you are perfectly described under the description of what I just said." In this, he's referring to the photos that Jamie was posting on her Instagram. I remember being super shocked by him saying this, because I thought they were good friends, and that is not a word you would use to describe somebody you're friendly with. It's a very derogatory term. And during her career as a soloist, Jamie had been experimenting with changing her sound and image as the years went on, as she moved labels, something I would expect a friend to be supportive of, rather than twisting it into something negative, and that it simply wasn't. Jamie responded to this on Twitter when the video started going round, with tweets saying, "A what?" and "Just remember how much I cared about you even before you were in your last company, and how many times if you were alright," I think she means checked if you were alright, "I prayed for you, your questions were like mine, it's really sad." Also adding another tweet saying, "I hate that we as women have to be subjected to men's humour to appease incels on the internet, period." Which is something that a lot of fans felt like some of Jay's more controversial behaviour on Twitch exactly was. Him trying to appeal to a very specific audience on that platform who think nothing of treating women like dirt. Jay would then release what I would finally call a more genuine apology from him, saying that he wanted to apologise to Jamie and everyone for what he said, that it was a comment made in poor taste and he felt very terrible for making Jamie feel this way. He admitted he thought it was friendly banter, but now realises that it wasn't, and he was more trying to refer to the idea of her having this baddie energy rather than literally calling her that word. The pair also both later confirmed that they talked it out in person after Jay realised the severity of the situation he created. Jamie tweeted about how Jay came to her place to apologise for his mistake, and anybody who knows Jay as a friend will know he didn't mean what he said, and he promised to use his words more wisely in future. She continued that she hopes this is a wake-up call for him, and as a friend she really does want him to go in the right direction. Jay went on live stream to speak up about the situation, saying he realised he effed up when he called his friend and she picked up crying, and he doesn't want to be somebody who made his friends feel that way. He even mentioned how his parents called him, saying they'd been contacted by Jamie's parents, and he thought, how have I ended up here hurting all these people around me? In the same live stream, Jay also spoke about how he realises he'd made many mistakes on the internet, and it's not just people being hateful for the sake of being hateful like he said in the past. Okay, we've spoken a lot about some of the controversies that Jay has been wrapped up within. Let's now look at the thing that made me want to create this video, the Zach Sang interview. During a recent interview, it was mentioned how the internet had mixed reactions to Day6 releasing an EP titled Forever. Forever is spelt like F-O-U-R for the number 4. And they asked Jay how he felt about that. Jay hesitated quite a bit before saying, "Can I just be really honest? It kinda hurts. Like, I understand it's like they had this whole analysis and story behind it, but in my head, it's hard for me to watch any Day6 stuff because it reminds me of a lot. For a long time now, it was even hard for me to go back to Korea. There was this feeling of anxiety. I don't know what it was. It's gotten much better now. I think I've worked through a lot of that. But seeing that, obviously I didn't know the reaction and the reasoning behind what they did. My gut reaction was that I feel like someone, I don't think it's the band, but someone was trying to erase me out of the history of that And it hurts because I literally gave up my career in Korea. I fought tooth and nail to promote however I could, and now that I'm gone they're trying to erase all that. But I understand. What I'm thinking of it is that there was never really any closure for them on that side, and that's not to the band members, but I think the label. And if that's the closure that they think they need, then I guess so be it, but it's still going to hurt a little bit. Another clip also shows Jay explaining how it hurts because he sees people trying to erase him from Day6, but he wrote a lot of the songs, spending his 20s there, and now it's like it's just being erased. He clarifies that he does respect the members a lot, and he genuinely wishes the best for them, and that he doesn't know if he's got the right to say this, but he's really proud of them. When the interviewer asks him why he wouldn't be able to say that he feels like that, why wouldn't he have the right? Jay gets visibly upset and says, just cause, I don't know, so many people think that I like, but he can't finish the sentence. Now, of course, this actual question itself from the Zach Sang show has received a lot of criticism from fans because it was kind of personal and the sort of question that, yeah, you might ask because you want the beefy gossip, but at the same time, you know it's probably going to hurt someone to even think about, if that makes sense. And that isn't really fair. But at the same time, I do actually think that Jay answered this question really well. I completely understand why he does feel the way he does. The members have apparently confirmed the album is called Forever to represent the 4 members hoping to last together forever, their 4th generation fan club recruitment, and the fact it's the group's first release together after 4 years of the members going in and out of the military. But like Jay said himself, even with or without knowing all of that, of course he's going to feel like this exaggeration of the word 4 in Forever is a little bit targeted and trying to emphasize that the group is 4 members, nothing to do with him anymore. The reason why I wanted to look at the question, why is Jay involved in so many controversies within this video, is because I actually feel as though Jay's response to this one question alone kind of made me understand a little bit more why he seems to always have been involved in drama during his later days with Day6. And I do think it's because he was hurting, and he was almost sort of lashing out as a way to deal with his own issues. There is something called the pain cycle, which is famously the principle of hurt people hurt people. This basically means that people who are suffering themselves are more likely to inflict pain onto others. Like Jay said during the Zach Sang interview, he did his very best to promote Day6 wherever possible, but this is one of the biggest issues he had with the label. We briefly touched upon this earlier in the video, but Jay mentioned many times on social media that he was doing everything he could to do extra. He was working, whether it be on podcasts or variety show appearances, to bring up Day6's name to the forefront and to promote the group and their work wherever he could. However, his efforts were rarely ever reciprocated with gratitude from the label. Jay would appear on a show, but the label would do nothing to promote this. Jay would appear on a podcast, and the label couldn't even be bothered to tweet about it, even though they were active on social media sharing other things. It takes 2 seconds to retweet something. This explains why Jay would lash out on lives when people would aim their anger at JYP by saying the person JYP isn't his problem but the label, but rather than just saying please don't misunderstand, JY Park isn't the problem but more so the label, Jay instead lashes out and calls fans stupid for disliking JYP because his mind doesn't know a better way of expressing his own frustrations at that time. Our brains find it easier to exert our anger wherever possible, even if it means in a different outlet, so therefore it comes out in a more insulting way at the audience who asked the question, because people that are hurting hurt other people. Next question we can now ask and answer based on this is why Jay still seems to be speaking of Day6 to the point that some fans accuse him of being unable to let go. And I think there's 2 sides to this. One, people keep asking him about Day6 and will always link him to them, so even if he didn't want to speak about them, he would struggle to avoid questions like the ones from this interview. But also 2, I don't think he wants to let Day6 go, because it's not Day6 as a group he has animosity towards, even though fans think so from his past comments, and it appeared that way. Jay has said himself multiple times that he has nothing but respect for the members, and that he wishes them all the best. It doesn't really feel as though there's any bad blood there amongst them. The bad blood between Day6 and Jay seems to be much more between the fans and Jay, who feel as though Jay is responsible for Day6 always previously being associated with negative drama, because a lot of the comments that Jay has been criticized for were during his time as a member of the group. This is why Jay himself doesn't know if he's able to say he's proud of the group, because he's probably very aware that a lot of fans think any of their success is in spite of him and the issues he caused the group, despite the fact that prior to this he was trying to do whatever he could to help the group grow and didn't really want to ever be causing them any pain and suffering, even though he did, which I can imagine is a crazy situation to be in. Okay, I wanted to wrap up this video with a conclusion, maybe to summarize my thoughts on Jay's controversial past, but also everything I've said in defense of him in this video. I do just want to clarify, I do not condone any of his controversial past in any way, and I don't want me explaining why I think Jay may have done or said some of these things he's been critiqued for to sound like I'm trying to justify his behaviour by saying he was going through some mental struggles and therefore we should just pardon him. Although I explained the concept of the pain cycle, this does not give people a free pass to treat people poorly just because you yourself are going through some things. The whole point is break the cycle. It's extremely important to take accountability for your own actions and how they can harm others. And I think that is something that it's safe to say Jay has struggled with in the past, which we saw evidence of in some of his earlier apologies where he kind of said sorry, but then deflected the blame elsewhere wherever possible to change the topic. But I think one positive to come out of Jay's past behaviour is that he may have perhaps started to see the light a little bit more after his situation with Jamie. And like Jamie said, it could be a bit of a wake-up call for him. It's not lost on me that Jay has been able to look at some of his past controversies with clearer outlooks since leaving the label. In the past, where he would have said he completely justifies his actions because he thought he was no way in the wrong, he is now able to reflect upon these scenarios from somebody else's viewpoint and understand why and how he hurt people. I do wonder if it's almost as though leaving the label meant he was able to shift some of that weight off his shoulders, and leaving some of that negativity behind allowed him the space to reflect on his past behaviour. The issue is, K-pop stans do not forget anything. Ever. And this is something that Jay himself is even aware of. In a teaser for the app Mindset, Jay addressed his past controversies saying, "I left JYP, I got cancelled a few times. Unfortunately, it is what a lot of people know me for, and that might have been one of the biggest F-ups in my life." Jay is very aware that despite his efforts as a solo artist now, the thing he'll be most renowned for is his controversial past. Even in the replies of the clips from the Zach Sang show, where I did personally feel that Jay explained himself clearly and quite well, a lot of the fans in the replies are just people saying they cannot forgive his past actions. Jay also further acknowledged his past by saying, "There have been a lot of people that I've hurt, there have been a lot of misunderstandings, but at the end of the day, I just truly always want to do the right thing." K-pop fan culture has a major issue with knowing when and where to hold idols accountable. I completely agree that we should be holding artists like Jay accountable when they have made numerous mistakes that hurt people. However, K-pop fans do struggle to forgive. Jamie herself has said she forgave Jay for all the comments he made about her, still choosing to value their friendship over his mistakes. However, she isn't allowed the space to do so when fans are still mad on her behalf. Even if she wants to forget the whole ordeal ever happened, it'll be impossible for either of them to do so whenever their names are mentioned in the same sentence, there's only one thing people think of. The pair spent years collaborating as hosts of the After School Club, creating fun and memorable moments and content, but with the way K-pop fans work, all of this is simply erased and replaced by that one problem that has already been cleared up, because it's much easier to carry on hating somebody and be mad at something rather than forgiving them for their wrongdoings and moving on. Again, like I've said, it does of course worry me that some viewers might interpret the things I'm saying here as me saying we should just move on and forget anything bad that Jay has done in the past. Of course not, because accountability is the only way in which people will learn from their mistakes. But there's a quote that I think of a lot, and some K-pop fans would really benefit from hearing this, and it goes along the lines of, "Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes the future." This means that you can still hold somebody accountable for their past, while still allowing them the space to reflect and grow moving forward. Okay guys, and that was it for today's video. Bit of a different approach for sure. I wasn't really sure how this was going to go until I started speaking, but here we are. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to be the first to hear whenever I upload, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!